Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Paras Batra, who is the co-founder at Leap Studios, a smart headphone brand. Paras is a graduate of IIT Delhi and has been an entrepreneur since 2015. Hi Paras, welcome to ELI.
Hi Priya, thank you so much for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Paras, why don't you give a intro to our audience?
Hi everyone. I'm Paras and I'm the co-founder of Leaf Studios. We are a homegrown audio brand. We mainly do headphones, earphones, and the company started around 3 years ago out of a personal itch of not being able to find a good quality wireless earphone, and we made one, and then we later evolved it into a full-fledged brand. So yeah, that's a brief intro about me.
Okay. Tell us more about the company, like what kind of reach you have, and what kind of impact you have been making at the ground level.
Okay, so if you see, like I said, we are one of the top homegrown audio brands. So we are currently in top five homegrown audio brands amongst Boat, Noise, and some others that you might know of. And so elaborating on a little bit on the company, I come from a performing arts background and a tech background both. And tech background, as you mentioned, I'm a graduate from IIT Delhi, and I love tech in general also. About performing arts bit, I have been one of the top jazz dancers in the country. I have got trained in jazz, and then I've also taught jazz to a lot of people. I've done a lot of stage, so always very close to music, close to performing arts in general. And I understood what's good music and how it sounds, but I was not able to initially afford a great quality wireless headphone because whatever I would like would be either a Bose or a Sony or a Beats, which were all very super duper expensive that time. I could not afford. So I thought there was a gap, at least in the wireless category, that if you wanted to have a wireless headphone, you could not really get it in a value for money sort of a range. So we built one for ourselves, and then we sort of launched it on Amazon, and suddenly a lot of people found it helpful. So so built for ourselves, then the market also adopted, fortunately, and then like that was the time we understood there is a white space. So we kept building on top of it year on year. Of course, there were a lot of mistakes because I am also a first time founder. It's not like I've done multiple businesses before. Uh, Neither did we have any industry experience as such. So there were a lot of hiccups in between, but you learn along the way. And now it's good. Now it's growing. It's bootstrapped. It's profitable and growing year on year.
Awesome. Paras, I would like to understand the nitty gritties of building a consumer brand in India, especially electronic consumer brand. Since you have a strong competition from Chinese vendors, what are the different challenges you face on day-to-day basis, and what are the nitty gritties of your business?
Uh, See, it's not just about the electronics as a category, but in general, consumers in India are very complex. Their nature changes uh, with states, with their backgrounds, financial background, everything. It's very complex. It's a very heterogeneous market. So you need to really, if you want to go big, you have to really have an insight which is common to most of the people. Like a lot of people should be able to connect to it, and there are a lot of external factors that also play a big role. Like in our case, uh, smartphones went big 2 years before or 3 years before we came into them. So we started 2017, 2014 ke aspas, brands like Xiaomi came into India who really made it affordable. That went big. So by the time we started, uh, the smartphone industry was so competitive that they had actually stopped giving earphones also with the smartphones. The stock earphones that used to come with the smartphones, which don't really come now, it had just started to come without those smartphones, without those earphones in the smartphone box. So that was a good trigger. And then, of course, as some people started to try a branded earphone. They of course do a lot of word of mouth. Ki, "Arey yaar, dekho, this is so much better." Then of course the wireless factor was again a big factor. So there is no way a smartphone company will give a wireless earphone for free with their smartphone. No one gives that, right? It's not as cheap as a wired earphone is to make. So that was a good trigger. Like if you have experienced wireless, you do not want to go back to wired. Not completely, at least. Like I'm myself using a wired earphone right now. It's a, it's a funny thing, but there is an advantage. Kisko, I don't have to charge this, so it of course has its own advantages. But wireless experience is next level, so people don't want to go back once they have tried wireless, and they like to brag about it so much. You wear it on your face, like literally you're wearing it on your ears, so everyone can see it. They'll ask you, you'll brag about it. Oh, see, I have such a cool gadget, you don't. So all that leads to a lot of word of mouth, and that's a big boost for the category. It's actually one of the fastest growing categories in the country in the past 3 years, audio itself.
Good to hear that. Now, take us through your journey, like what is happening on the hindsight, what consumers don't get to see. Tell us about your journey of entrepreneurship.
Okay, in general entrepreneur, so I'll not just focus around leaf, I'll take you through the initial beginnings.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how I thought I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So see, I come from a small city in Haryana, not city, town, or whatever you would call it. It's in the district of Sonipat. So my dad has a shop there where he retails unstitched suits for women. So he's a retailer there. So I always saw, there is some customer walking into the store, how he's procuring his, clothes that he's going to retail, how is he selling to the customers that walk in. I never sat at the shop, but I would always observe in bits and pieces. Found that fascinating how he would, keep adjusting his business according to the trends that were mostly on the TV. So if a new TV show comes, suddenly that goes big. So the protagonist, whatever they are wearing, my dad would want to procure a similar kind of clothes. So you see the dynamics. That's very interesting. So that gets your interest. But again, it was one shop. So I was like, okay, it's fine, it's good, it's fun, but it's one shop. Like, how can it go big? Then I saw my maternal grandfather, uh, my Nanaji. So he had three factories of cables. So they used to manufacture cables, like wires. So that was another like level up. Acha, one person operating three factories. So you don't really have to be at the shop for a business to run. So that was like level two unlocked. Okay, this is also possible. Very cool. So and so around I think I was 16 in class 11th, where I had thought I'll do some sort of a business when I grow up. Then I got into IIT. IIT was going fine. Then suddenly third year I applied for an internship in Singapore. Fortunately, I got it. I went there, and then I saw that students are building startups there. That was very new. Like students were not building startups in IIT in 2013. So it was a very new thing for me to see in Singapore. Just students are building startups. So wo jo, there's this narrative that used to be, abhi to utna nahi hai. The narrative that you have to get experience first, then you start a business or a
Mm-hmm.
enterprise of your own. So that sort of went out of the window. So I thought, yeah, this is very cool. Even a student can do it. So then I came back. Then I started my first startup product, whatever you may call it, with some of my friends back from the days I was preparing for IT. I had some friends from that time and their mutual friends, our mutual friends. So we started the first company, which was a safety wearable tech company. We were making wearable technology for human safety.
Mm-hmm.
And that went for 1 or 2 years. We did a lot of mistakes there in terms of understanding the consumer inside, but the company did well. We went on to win an X Prize in USA also. And then after some time, I exited from that company, and then this company came about, Leaf Studios, which was a consumer audio brand. So that's the how the idea of entrepreneurship evolved over a period of time.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now tell us about the team building phase. You cannot do it alone by yourself, right? You need people to execute your vision. How did you find those people? Uh, uh, Using what methods and what listing criteria is, and all.
Okay, so yeah, this is interesting. As I told, my founders, my co-founders were friends or mutual friends. So that part, what that does is the trust factor gets hacked with that. So if I today go to an XYZ person, of course they might be very skilled at what they do and might add a lot of to the equation, but there is a certain gestation period that will take to establish the trust. But when you go with a long-term friend or their mutual friends, then you sort of hack that trust bit because the trust is already there. So I took that hacked route of starting up with my friends, and so that part was sorted. They were high pedigree. All my In the first startup, my co-founders were from Delhi Technological University, DTU. So high pedigree in terms of tech, uh, great at communication skills, had big dreams. So the fit was also there. So all that was sorted on the co-founder side. On the team side, however, the story was very, very different. Uh, I had this understanding key e-commerce. Yes, of course, Flipkart, Amazon are big companies. Flipkart had also raised good funds by that time, but I knew it was still a new thing in India. It's not that old a story, e-commerce. This is 2017 I'm talking about, when I was building team for Leaf Studios. So I thought e-commerce story is not that old also, and I would not really find people who are enthusiastic enough and also experienced at the same time. So I compromised a bit on the experience wala side. I did not want to hire people from the Indian smartphone companies that existed. And let's say I could not afford people from Flipkart. I can't take them away from Flipkart. So I sort of learned my way up how things work in e-commerce. And I really got people who were hungry, who were really young, like 80-90% of the team at Leaf Studios. Leaf Studios is their first company. Almost none of them were experienced in any kind of job. So we got good quality people and trained them, and also they of course learned along the way how things work. No one had built a big consumer audio brand in India, so I
Mhm.
had less inhibitions. I'm starting with an inexperienced team because everyone is inexperienced with respect to this.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now tell us, how did you figure out the other part of venturing, the funds part? When you hire people, you have to pay them as well. Also, while building something that is a consumer brand with a tangible product, you have to do prototyping, etc. You need a lot of money for that as well. How did you figure out the initial funds part?
Okay, so my co-founder Ayush, he's an electronics engineer. Okay, I asked him that you handle the product, we'll handle it together. Or he could very well make an earphone, a wireless earphone. He understood everything about the electronics of an audio product. I said, I'll figure out the traction part, like how will we build any kind of distribution, how will this reach customers. So we sort of divided the task in between two people, and yeah, we hired one guy who would take care of the fulfillment bit if order comes. And for a very long time, it was actually a 3-4 people team only. We did most of the stuff by ourselves. So when you do that, the funding isn't that big a problem, right? We were very focused on making a profit on every transaction that was happening. Every headphone that we were selling or earphone that we were selling was making a profit. We were highly underpaid. The founding team was highly underpaid for a long time, and so that's how we managed our funding part initially. Since we were selling in profit, so of course the capital was also increasing with time, and it compounds surprisingly well. I'll tell you, because if your gross margins are high, then after selling, let's say 1 or 2 batches, you would have made enough profit to stock up for 3 times the initial batch, right? So the compounding works really well with working capital if your gross margins are high. So we were it was a very bootstrapped approach, I would say. We kept costs as low as we could, and we tried to sell at maximum possible price as we could. So it was a very simple match in that way.
Gotcha. Paris, if I were to define entrepreneurship, it is basically solving a problem in society and getting compensated for it. Uh,
Yes.
on that terms, if you believe so, what is the problem statement you are solving for our society?
I was solving a big problem of good quality entertainment experience. I think I'm solving the problem of building a great experience for entertainment. India loves entertainment. India loves cricket. India loves movies. India loves music. We love everything, and headphones are the medium through which it reaches our ears. And if you provide great quality here in a value for money sort of a way, then India will love you. So I think that's a great problem we are solving. Like if you see what happened after COVID happened, we were in a lockdown for almost 2 months. What kept us going? Entertainment would probably be number one,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right? So I think we are doing something really powerful. We are the medium for entertainment, and that's a very big problem I think we are solving.
Paris, what is your vision? I think you have got good traction on the company side, but you must have a vision where you want to reach ultimately at the end of the day. What is your vision?
Yes. So a natural like a natural extension that people see to our business is that we'll become a big electronics brand. But that's certainly not our vision. Our vision is to be the biggest entertainment company of the world. So that's our idea. We are more stuck on entertainment as a category and not electronics as a category. So you would never see us building data cables, trimmers, I don't know, XYZ things, which are great electronic products. I have nothing against them. But as a company, we connect to entertainment more, and we want to become the biggest entertainment company in the world. Disney would be a good example of how a big entertainment company looks like.
Gotcha. Paris, now so far our discussion, based on our discussion, it felt like a smooth journey. But I would like to understand what are the difficult challenges and failures you have gone through as an entrepreneur.
No, so yeah, it sounds very smooth the way I would say it, but of course, it's never smooth for anyone. I'm no exception. And of course, it was full of hurdles. The Probably the ones that I can recollect on top of my mind are things that you have to learn on the way. Like no founder is expert at everything that they do, right? And not every founder has the luxury of hiring great people on day one. So you have to understand a lot of things on the go, and when you do that, you of course do a lot of mistakes also. The number one thing that we struggled with a lot was supply chain. None of us knew how to build a great supply chain. It involves manufacturers, it involves distributors, it involves, I don't know, the team that goes behind it, the marketing team. So if supply chain is full from where the product origins to it reaching the customer. This whole supply chain had a lot of flaws initially, and we had to plug the gaps one by one. And it took a lot of time and a lot of mentoring, I would say. I reached out to a lot of people. I almost know every competitor of mine on first name terms, the founders. I go to them and I learn from them. So I asked them, यार तुमने कैसे बना लिया इतना अच्छा supply chain, मेरे को भी सिखा दो, मेरे को भी बना दो. So it takes a lot of proactive effort to plug those gaps. Supply chain, as I said, was the biggest hurdle. The second biggest hurdle that I remember was how different micro and macro are, in the sense that if let's say we are building a product, it's a it's a wonderful headphone, right? I'm loving it, and I know the price is so good that the world is going to love it. Then it goes out in the market, and suddenly you get bad feedback. You don't understand what happened. It was a great headphone, या तो मेरे कान खराब हो गए, or or something else has happened. Then you get to know, see, one product being right doesn't mean it will be right at scale. So that was a great takeaway for me, that you really can judge the success of a product at macro. मतलब हो सकता है ना, if let's say 5 out of 100 products really bad, 5 out of 100 products are going defective, then what if I tried one out of those 95 and thought it was a great product and I launched it? I can't really judge a factory or a manufacturer's capability unless they have produced on scale, right? So when it goes out and it doesn't work, that's a big setback. So we had to then build processes around how we can, bridge this thing, that if we are taking a product to the market, it should work at scale also. So that's a lot of learning that you get after launching multiple products.
Can you share some instances? It sounds very interesting, but without instances, I don't think the discussion would be complete. Can you share some examples, like how it worked for you?
Uh, like how we improved it, you're saying?
Yeah, the things you just mentioned about.
Okay. I understand what you're asking. So let's say I try this earphone, right? And I think it's a wonderful piece of earphone. Of course, I'm using it. So it goes now it goes out in the market, and suddenly we get to know that it is a 3.5-star rated product on Amazon. Not good by our standards, at least. We would never settle for anything less than 4-star. So I would be like, acha, now get to know what is it that people are disliking. Then I read that one side stops working after 2 months. This is a common feedback I'm reading. 2 months, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So then a team sits on it, that why is this happening. Then we crack, the wire connections that are there inside are loose. So over a period of 2-3 months, when wear and tear happens to the product, it falls sometimes, or the user keeps it in their bag. So those connections get lost and one side stops working. So then you go back and you check how are solderings happening on the manufacturer's side, and you give them this feedback. Then a batch goes out correcting this, and suddenly everything works and the product becomes 4.5-star. So that's how it would work. So over time you build this intelligence that what kind of defects can come in a product in that category. So headphones ke alag ho sakte hain, earphones ke alag ho sakte hain, and you build processes ki acha, in quality control only you check whether the solderings are fine or not. There is a bending test also, that if a headphone is bent 1,000 times, will it break or not? Mm-hmm. So these tests or these processes you build up at the starting of the supply chain, so things go smooth at scale also.
Gotcha. Paris, since you have been building a consumer brand for a very long time, what is your understanding, or what has been your key learnings about Indian consumer markets, or should I say Indian consumers themselves?
Okay, it's a very broad question, but I'll try to answer whatever I can. I think, first of all, Indian consumers are very simple, and they're simple in terms of their expectations. They have very basic set of expectations. The problem is that most companies or most consumer brands don't know that those are the expectations. So understanding of the consumer is very important, and delivering that hygiene. ये simple चीज है. Let's say from taking a headphones example, what do they want from a wireless headphone? They want great battery life. They want it to be very sturdy so it doesn't break, because they will carry it in a bag or something. Give that. So if you open, let's say, Amazon, and you read the reviews of other brands, you'll get to learn so much from the negative reviews, that what is it that people don't like and what is it that people expect from a product. So just do your research. I think with e-commerce, data is abundantly available. It's literally open source. Read the reviews online, what people are saying. You'll understand the expectations. Once you have understood the expectations, I think you're sorted. Just deliver on those expectations. That's how simple the playbook is for consumer brands in India. This is on mass. On, let's say, if we talk about the top 1%, they want to have something to brag about. So you have to then connect a lot of multiple dots to know that, let's say, if I deliver a headphone, what should be there in the headphone that they brag about it a lot. So you have to have a very solid differentiator, right? For the same thing, we built a Leaf app. Like you initially said, we are a smart headphones brand now. So what that app does is it takes a hearing test and it understands how you hear, and then it sort of personalizes the whole audio and enhances the audio experience for you. Now no one has heard of a headphone coming with an app that elevates the experience just for you. That is something really brag-worthy, and people brag about it. So that's how you have decoded the brag-worthy thing also. So summarizing it, meet the basic expectations. They are people are writing it online. What are their basic expectations? Then try to build something which they would like to brag in front of other people. That will give you that word of mouth and viral growth. As simple as that.
Okay. Now tell us what are your learnings in general are as an entrepreneur, uh, which can shorten the learning curve of other entrepreneurs out there who are about to start any venture, not just consumer brands, but any venture.
Okay, as an entrepreneur, one thing I really focus on, that keep your living costs super low till you have really made it. I still operate at a very low. My personal monthly burn is super duper low. Like imagine a number and it's lower than that. So my personal burn is low, so that gives me a longer runway in general. That makes me more risk taking, I would say. And so that's a good thing. Keep your personal burn low. Then second thing I say is don't make expensive mistakes. Make cheap mistakes, because see, mistakes will make you learn. But if you do too expensive of mistakes, then you run out of cash, right? So don't make expensive mistakes. I would say make cheap mistakes and learn very fast. Then let's see, I think this world of entrepreneurship, venture capital, it's sort of evolved to become a very elitist club where any person XYZ can't just get up and have all the slangs in their pocket. So you have to read a lot. You have to understand what is CAC, what is CAC, customer acquisition cost. So you need to know these terms to really be a part of the community. So read a lot, go on Twitter, follow a lot of people who verbally talk about their entrepreneurial journeys, do a lot of research, try to understand why companies that are working, why are they working, what have they done right, try to find their story from podcasts like, let's say, ELI-113. So there are ways. You have to be really curious, you have to gather all the knowledge, be very fast about it. The time will not wait forever for you. And then be frugal. And then finally, I would say start ASAP. Jitna jaldi start ho jayega, the faster you will learn and the faster you will make it also. So these are been some top learnings, I would say.
So I think I am done with my questions. Paras, if there is anything else you want to share, now would be the time. No.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention in the previous answer itself, that you should go after a big market. Like of course idea is super important, idea is super duper important, but make sure it's in a big market. The market is big enough, because then you have to eat a chunk out of that market itself, right? So let's say you are building a solution for extra money that we pay for luggage at airports, I don't think it's a very big market. Like, you need to know how much people are actually paying. Is that money in like $1 billion, $10 billion or not? If it's too small, don't go after it, because then it's an uphill task. And even if you get a significant share of the market, if that's small, then you're pretty much done with the journey, right? And a good way to look at your idea, like, is it good or not, would be compare it to the existing solution. Is it much better than that? Like, if from an example of cabs, if I had to get a cab 10 years ago, I would go to the nearest bus stop or a auto stand or somewhere and wait for it to come, and then Uber or Ola comes. Compare these two, Uber, Ola is much better than that. So travel ही तो need है A to B जाने का. So just compare, and if your idea sounds super duper better than that, then do it. Go ahead.
You said something about cheap mistakes. Can you give some
Yes.
examples of how you did some of your cheap mistakes?
Okay, cheap mistakes. One good example would be the way I run ads. I don't go full. In initial phases, I would not go full blown into the ad ski. Like let's say I was talking to someone at an ad agency, and they said, "Yeah, till the time you don't put 1 lakh rupees in the budget, now you won't really see results." And I really did not take this advice because I found it really stupid. That how does it matter? Like, if my ads are going to show results, they should show the results at 5,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees also on that channel, whatever advertisement channel that they were trying to sell me. Because the targeting was possible. I was able to target by age, by interests and everything. So I didn't digest this thing that, acha, 1 lakh ka budget hoga, then only it will show results. So I tried, I said, I convinced them to do a trial with me for 5,000 bucks, and there were no results. So in a way, short, I saved my 95,000 there. The channel was wrong to advertise, and thankfully I did not advertise on that. The mistake costed me 5,000 rupees and not 1 lakh rupees. That's one way of seeing how to make cheaper mistakes.
Very interesting example. On this note, I'd close this session because of time constraints. I think it was a great session and a lot of learnings from for me and the audience as well. Thanks for your time, Paras, and our best wishes for Leaf Studios.
Thank you so much for having us. Bye-bye.
Listeners, you can follow and connect with Paras on LinkedIn by typing Paras Batra. That is it for today's episode. We will be back with another exciting entrepreneur. Stay tuned to ELI.